All right, I just hit it.
Yeah, it says it, yeah.
All right, man. What up, Brian, man? Been a long time.
Yeah, what's happening, Marco? It's good to see you, bro.
Good to see you too, man. Hey, you haven't aged a bit. I feel like it's been, what, 4 or 5 years since I seen you guys?
Oh, man, at least probably, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while, man. What's new with y'all?
Everything's good, dude. 3 girls.
Wow.
Yeah, living in Gilbert now. So we
Oh,
got
yeah. I heard you guys moved to Gilbert. You were in Scottsdale before. What happened?
the third kid came around. Wife said we got to go to Gilbert, so here we are.
Yeah, the wife commands. You're like, yes, ma'am.
That's it, man. It was a short discussion.
You were like, okay.
All right. Nah,
How you like-
it's worked out though, man. It's nice being out here now.
it's a lot different in Gilbert than Scottsdale, right?
It is, but it's nice, man. The neighborhood's great, house is great, and kids love it. And close
And
to
I still remember that bike ride we did that one time when we, hopped from bar to bar, man. That one got me.
heck yeah, that was a good time, man.
I feel like I can drink, but just riding a bike and going around drinking in the middle of the day, yeah, that messed me up.
Yeah, yeah. You got to do it once or twice to figure out where to be at.
Yeah,
In terms
that
of
was a good time, man. All right, we'll get into the meat of this. When I first asked you, things were a little different. So I
yeah,
had
a
I
lot
had
different.
yeah, so I had some other questions I was gonna ask you.
All
But
good.
with everything going on, man, it's kind of like I kind of ripped the questions up, you know what I mean? And you were like,
Yeah,
let's do this. So I kind of just threw a few together, man. We'll see how the interview goes. If it doesn't go that long or if it goes a long time, you know what I mean? Up to you.
yeah. No
But
worries.
first off, I'll just ask, you know what I mean? Well, you kind of already introduced yourself, but man, just kind of tell us what you do.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So, as you know, but obviously everybody else, PA, so physician assistant. So I work in the ER. I've been there for 5 years
Oh
now.
wow.
So I see whatever comes through that, patient complaint that we need to address, and we work them up.
Man, so you were on the front line there, man, when that coronavirus hit, huh?
Still doing it, brother.
Man, so that's really what when I first hit you up, I wanted to know, like, what are your thoughts on the coronavirus? You hear one side that's like, man, this is just a conspiracy, government, this, that, it's just all made up.
Yeah.
But then you hear from the other side that no, this is legit. There's really things going on. People are really dying. Like, I wanted to get your thoughts. Someone on that front line, man. What do you think? What's going on?
Yeah, no question, man. It's frustrating. So there's no question it's real, right? I've seen it. I've seen case after case. It's definitely not a conspiracy, something made up, some hoax. People get really sick. And that's what's scary about it is there's people that'll come through that have symptoms, and it might be mild stuff, fever, mild headaches, their body hurts, their stuffy nose, whatever. But then there's people that can't breathe, and their blood circulating doesn't have enough oxygen to give the body the energy that it needs, and they're literally starving for air.
Wow.
And there's no like rhyme or reason. There's no predictability to why one person gets sick and why one person doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating hearing people kind of chalk it up as it's none. It's just another flu. And I think early on, a lot of people kind of looked at it that way. And to be honest, I kind of had that impression early.
Mm-hmm.
But quickly after reading more, learning more, and then seeing it firsthand, it's definitely not just another flu virus.
Wow, man,
The consequences can be quite a bit worse, and I've seen it firsthand where people are literally at death's door, and there's very little we can do about it. The interventions that we've used sometimes work, sometimes don't, but there's no predictability as to when it's going to be effective, and sometimes you just feel completely helpless watching somebody suffocate.
Wow, that's crazy. So you have witnessed people pass away from this then, huh?
Yeah, we're fortunate not to be in the same situation that we saw in Italy, that we saw in New York, and so it's never been to the extremes that they had it, which
Wow.
is very lucky for us, to not be completely inundated with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, there's people that come through our doors that don't leave, and it can be very quick, and it's tragic.
So was there ever a time where there was like a shortage of, you hear things on the news about shortage of ventilators and shortage of hospital beds and things of that nature? Was that actually ever something that was true, or?
So I think it's absolutely true for the locations that were overrun. I think there was too many people needing ventilators in such a short period of time, and they didn't have enough for them. So certainly there are centers, there are what we would call hotspots, where they absolutely ran out and didn't have enough ventilators and equipment and whatnot. The advantage we had in the U.S., but then particularly too here on the West Coast, is we saw it happen in Italy, China first, then Italy, then New York. And so we had time to really try to prepare ourselves and take stock of, okay, what do we have? How many beds do we have? How many vents do we have? What can we do if we run out of space on this floor? And, fortunately, like I said, up to this point, we've never met that capacity to where we've had to start implementing, secondary and tertiary measures. But, if we do get there, I feel like we're pretty well prepared at this time, at least as well prepared as we could be.
Right.
So in some places they didn't have enough. And, fortunately, where we're at, we've been able to put anybody that needs a vent on a vent.
So do you feel like that's attributed to the stay-at-home order and trying to curb this, or do you feel like just Arizona in general is kind of like, I've heard things, and forgive me, I'm just a realtor, so I don't know.
No, you're good.
You hear different things. Like, do you feel like it's because Arizona is warmer than other places or things of that nature? What do you attribute the fact that we have been a little less hit than other places? What do you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I don't know if it's necessarily the warmth. Maybe. I wouldn't make a strong argument for that. I think there's a few advantages that we do have. If you look at New York, if you look at, Seattle and some of these cities that got really hit pretty bad, they're very condensed. They're vertical, and there's people stacked on top of each other. I mean, in New York, you can't walk outside without tripping over somebody, and everything's public transportation. And, when you look at pre-COVID, pre-shutdown, the streets of New York, it's a sea of people. Arizona doesn't look like that, at least unless there's a sporting event, right? There's very few times where you have that many people always in, shoulder to shoulder bumping across each other. So I think that, here we have an advantage in that we're already so spread out. We're already, somewhat distanced just by the layout of our state. The East Coast also, I think, is a little bit more of a kind of an entry point for a lot of people coming from overseas. So I think, it showed up earlier, and it just was able to spread like wildfire more. Wow. So that's definitely part of it, but I'd like to think that the stay-at-home orders did help. I do, you can't argue the fact that if you put people, keep people home and they're not walking around coughing and snotting on other people, there's going to be less of it spread. So I think it did make a difference.
So in your estimation, and forgive me again, man, this is like an entertainment interview as well.
Yeah, don't even apologize.
Governor Ducey and all that, like, this was not anything that was like government manipulated, like they wanted to start, you hear all this stuff about, they're trying to, implement a police state and things like that. Right. No, you're saying that the stay-at-home order was legit because of COVID, and we wanted to make sure that we were just staying safe and healthy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, if this is all conspiracy, they went the fucking distance on it. You know what I mean? Like, to go to the extremes of dropping a virus, I mean, that's pretty hardcore. So no, I don't think so, man. I mean, if it's a fantasy world I'm living in, fuck it, I'm staying there. I think this is a virus that just got out. It was not man-made and released by the government, enforcing police states. I think that was a legitimate response to, a disease that's there.
Yeah. Is COVID similar? Is it like related to MERS and SARS and those other like?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yes, it's similar. Similar family of virus. They just they affect different parts of the body, different parts of the cell. Where previously SARS was really only a pulmonary disease.
Okay.
What we've found out with COVID is that it can affect almost any body system. So that's maybe
Really?
one of the big differences. And also it makes it so hard, I think, to track, to identify, and to test for is, you can have, the big stuff, the scary stuff, and what we all hear about in the news and why we're all legitimately at least concerned about it is lung infections and pneumonias and fluid in the lungs and you can't breathe, and then there's the milder forms that you'll hear about too of sore throat, stuffy nose, you can't smell, you can't taste. But there's also people that are getting, diarrhea, they're getting body cramps and abdominal cramps.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
there's people that have had, just like a weird rash that'll show up.
Wow.
There's like neurologic stuff. There's people, young people, 20s and 30s that are having strokes.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
it's not like, it's not just hitting a certain age then, it's not hitting just the elderly, like it's hitting young people as well?
yes,
Wow. Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. I mean, there's obviously risk factors. Somebody that's older, immune system is going to be a little bit weaker. Somebody, especially if they've got other medical issues, if they've got high blood pressure, if they've got diabetes or heart disease, if they've got lung disease, they're going to have a rougher time with the illness. But that doesn't mean that people that are, young and able-bodied are, taking this thing in stride. I mean, there's people that have been completely floored by it, that had no medical issues that were in their 20s, in their
And
30s.
and they don't know why that is. There's no like this guy was young, but he had blood type X or whatever. Like,
No, I mean, I've seen some theories. I don't know if any of it's been proven, beyond that kind of level of just being a theory.
right,
I mean, it's such a new disease for us all. It's still being studied. I think there's probably 20 new articles or journals on it every single day.
every day. I know it's hard to know what's accurate or what's made
Yeah,
up. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's but it's they keep learning more, right? So who knows when we'll have that final answer as far as this is why they got sick and why somebody else didn't. But
Right.
and it could all
So
just be chance, it could all just be.
yeah. So I've seen articles where President Trump is taking, and forgive me for butchering the word, because like I said, I'm just a realtor.
Well, good.
What is it? Hydrochloroquine, or is that how you say that?
Yeah, hydroxychloroquine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Trump taking that. Is that, what do you think of all that?
Let's not talk about Trump. Uh,
I don't mean specifically
so,
Trump, like his policy. I just
no, no.
mean, I
So,
meant more towards the medication. Like,
yeah,
is
no,
that
no.
something that could be
So
effective?
the short response to it is they used it in trials and they've stopped using it in trials.
Okay.
There were more bad outcomes with it than positive outcomes, and so it is no longer being used to treat COVID infection.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. Wow. Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Before all this other stuff, we'll kind of touch on it a little bit. Were you
sure.
seeing the cases of coronavirus like starting to decrease? Did you feel like we were starting to maybe come out of it a bit? Was it just halftime and it was going to come back anyway? Like, what do you feel?
Yeah, man. That's something that I think we're going to learn pretty hard over these next couple of weeks to the next month or so. I think one issue is testing was not robust enough to truly identify how prevalent the disease is. The other problem with testing is it's not very accurate. At least in some cases, it's not very accurate. So the primary form of testing is they swab your nose. So they stick a Q-tip way to the back of the throat through the nose.
That sounds painful.
Yeah, we call it brain sampling. Uh, but it had like a 30% false negative rate. So you stick the Q-tip back there, you send it to the lab, and it says no COVID, and the person has COVID. And
Oh
I mean,
my.
I witnessed that firsthand. And so I don't know if it's just a failure of the test. Is the test not good? And it just, I mean, some tests aren't 100%, right? I mean, most things aren't 100%. So is it just a bad test? Or another theory that I heard that kind of makes sense is, a lot of the people that the criteria for us to test somebody really came down to, clinical signs and symptoms. So somebody had a fever, they were short of breath, their oxygen saturation was low, they were coughing. They had certain, blood work criteria that they would meet. Well, most of the time, we're like an X-ray finding. So most of the time, we were looking for the lung infection, type of person to be doing a swab on. Well, if you think about it, and I guess again, in theory, if you have all of this virus in your lungs, you may not have a virus load in your nose, and so when they go swab you, yeah, it says you don't have it, but then you go and test fluid from the lungs, and you have COVID.
Wow.
So I think there's kind of that, just, most of the people that I would see, if I tested them and their swab was negative and I felt like they had it, I told them to act as though they had it and stay home for 2 weeks and cover, sneeze, and cough, and don't go around anybody, and, just wait till your symptoms resolve.
Is that 2 weeks just a guess, or is there some hard stats that say that a 2-week quarantine really is?
Yeah, I mean, I think out of the numbers of people that we've seen that have had the illness, it seems to be kind of the median or the average length of their infection cycle is about 2 weeks. Now, that being said, there's people that have done 3 to 4 weeks. There's people that have done almost 2 months battling their illness, and all of that just comes down to severity. So somebody that's really super sick, they might spend 2 months in the hospital, trying to recover, trying to battle, and it's all secondary effects. And I think a lot of that comes from the immune system just getting completely fucking rocked, and they just can't really come back from it. We're okay to cuss?
Yep.
I was gonna say, I've dropped an F-bomb. You haven't stopped me, but I don't want to keep going if it's something you don't want to let happen.
Oh no, you should see the other interview I do. They drop F-bombs left and right. It's all good.
All right. We're good company. All right. So in any event, 2 weeks kind of seems to be the average. There's some people that might be a little bit shorter with mild illness, right? You got a stuffy nose and sore throat and some body aches. You might be 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
You get a bad pneumonia and you get put in the hospital, you might be 3 weeks. Then there's all that stuff kind of on the outside of that and everything in the middle. But I think 2 weeks is roughly the average.
Okay. Wow. Man, so kind of getting into what's happening these days, what's still along the lines of COVID. I mean, with all the protesting and people going out and basically congregating all in one big old group in the middle of the town. And
right.
Do you feel like this is just going to cause coronavirus to explode again? And in that case, if that does happen, like how long does it take for us to know that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, certainly the fear, the worry is there that with everything going on, all these people in big crowds, there's definitely a lot of concern that we'll see some increased COVID infection. It's almost like, what the fuck happened to COVID, dude? We went so hardcore on everybody stay home, let's do this, let's be strong. And then it became, I need a fucking haircut, I need to get out so I get a haircut. Which, again, that kind of phased out. But now with this, the response to George Floyd, there's definitely some concern and some worry that we'll see some increased infections.
Do you feel that the stay-at-home order was lifted too soon by Ducey?
That's a hard one for me to answer because I don't think we knew enough, so I kind of have two sides to that. On the one hand, we didn't have enough information to say that we had slowed the infection cycle, that enough people had become tested and negative and it's safe to let them out. That I would, one part of the answer is, yeah, we probably pulled it too soon because we just didn't know.
Right.
We tested, a fucking minuscule percentage of the people that, even had symptoms. If they weren't sick enough, we didn't test them. And that's just because we didn't have enough test kits. And so, yeah, we were under-equipped in terms of actually identifying how many people were infected with it. On the other hand, I understand a lot of these people that, were losing their jobs and losing health insurance and they weren't getting money from the government. What else are you going to do?
Exactly. They were getting desperate.
They were getting desperate. So, when you look at it from that side, I kind of go, you can't just fucking sit these people at home and ask them to ride this sucker out and then not give them any provisions, Yeah. So, when you then look at that side, you kind of say, they had to do it. Their hand was almost forced in letting people back out and trying to open businesses back up.
Yeah.
So.
Do masks work?
Yes.
They do? Okay. Because, you know, like everything else, there's these articles that are like, it's useless. It's like, you know, putting a chain link fence to your face. It's just going to seep through. And then you have the other ones. It's like, no, you have to wear the mask. It absolutely works. So from, you know, from
Yeah.
you, someone like you, a physician assistant, you say it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck yeah, it works. So, I mean, you know, here's the deal. If you put a mask on your face and you walk into a grocery store and, you know, you have COVID, but you don't have symptoms, and you sneeze, you cough, you breathe, you talk to somebody close to you, the mask is blocking all your spit. You know, like small, you know, and there's some spit talkers and there's not spit, but everybody has, you know, small particles that are going to go out. If you put that into a mask and you contain it, your risk of sending, you know, of transmitting that to somebody else is significantly decreased. So when we're doing it, we're not wearing the mask to not get it, right? You're wearing the mask to not give it. And if everybody wears the mask to not give it, far fewer people are going to get it. You know, I mean, and if you're symptomatic, you shouldn't be walking through a fucking store looking for a can of beans anyway, right? You should be sitting your ass at home. So, you know, I mean, yes, masks work.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about it that way, that you're actually protecting everyone else instead of just protecting yourself. Like, I just assumed you're wearing the mask, you're trying to, I guess in a selfish way, you're just trying to protect yourself. I get what you're saying, though. It makes tons of sense. Wow.
Yeah, well, and I mean, if you think about it too, like you're still protecting yourself somewhat. Like, you know, as a bandana or, you know, a regular surgical mask or these kind, you know, these generic masks that people are making, is it going to be effective for, you know, a physician who's putting a tube down somebody's throat, you know, that has COVID, that's super sick? No, but is it going to stop most of the spray from somebody else if you're wearing it? Yeah, and that's the other thing. I'm sure you've noticed this. You know, not everybody's wearing it. And so, you know, to be fair, yeah, there is part of a self-serving role for it if you wear it. Because when you go to the store, I mean, there's days where I feel like fucking 25% of the people are wearing a mask. And you're just sitting there going, you know, what fucking news are you watching that you think that you know, this is an issue that is worth walking around without a mask and or making the argument? You know, that dumb shithead that walked through Costco filming saying, I woke up in a free country, so I'm not wearing a mask.
I saw that, yeah.
So put your fucking stand on whether or not you're wearing a mask is just stupid. Yeah. You know, it's so small, it's so mild. Just, you know, put the fucking thing on. You want to make a statement, put a middle finger on it, or say fuck off or something like that. You know, get your point across, but do it.
But still do it, yeah. That makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, you threw me for a loop there. Let me check my notes here and get another question lined up. So what are you wearing a mask
when you go out?
Huh?
Are you wearing a mask when you go out?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I do sometimes, and other times I don't. I'm not gonna pretend like I do it 100% of the time.
Sure.
But I don't go into big crowds or anything like that either. However, I mean, you still do go to the grocery store and things like that. Yeah. I haven't been to a Costco though since all this has gone on. I take it back. I went one time, but the Costco was completely empty. The way that they were separating everybody outside before they let you in.
Yeah.
So the Costco is very empty. But no, I'll take the L on that one, Brian.
No, I mean,
I don't wear it all the time.
You get a pass, but I mean, just you know, it's you never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's better and safer. I really should, you know, because I do go still show houses and things like that. So I'm running into new people left and right. So I probably should get better at it.
Yeah.
But so do you want to touch it?
You could throw some advertisement on that thing too, if you think about it, man. I mean, you want to walk through a store and you got Marcos the Realtor on there. You never know when somebody needs a house, so take advantage of the opportunity.
I'm gonna, you know what? I think I'm gonna steal that from you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Marcos the Realtor, right on the front, a walking billboard.
Do it.
So, do you want to touch at all on the events that are happening right now?
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you feel when you saw that video with the cop putting his knee into, you know,
dude,
Mr. Boyd's body there?
That's fucking disgusting. That dude does not deserve the shit that he's getting. Third degree is not okay. No, man, it should not have taken as long as it did. I mean, that was cold-blooded murder.
And you saw that the initial autopsy came out and they were saying it was a heart attack.
Fucking bullshit.
And then the independent one comes out and it's like, no, asphyxiation. Like he died
Yeah.
because the guy's knee was in his neck.
Yeah, no, it's on video, right? I mean, it's not like we can sit here and argue, and you want to tell me, okay, it's not down to an autopsy. There's
Mm-hmm.
video footage of somebody compressing his carotid artery. He's
Yeah.
asphyxiated. He choked him to death. He starved him of oxygen. There's no fucking doubt in my mind that's what killed him, and it angers me to no end.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I mean, I guess cops, they have to, you know, I'm struggling for the word. Like they have to, restrain whoever they're after, I guess. But you don't have to keep your knee into his neck for what was it, 9 minutes or however long it
Yeah,
was.
just under 9 minutes. Nah, I mean that's the issue. Like that's the thing is I mean I support cops. And I think most of them are good, and I'm certainly the ones that I know are.
Yeah,
It not everybody's bad, and so that's part of the. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to throw everyone under the bus here and say like it's only it's all police officers, but in most situations, I kind of will side with the police officer. Just if you acknowledge that, okay, listen, they enter into situations that most of us wouldn't. They put their lives on the line every single day, and sometimes they don't know. A routine traffic stop, you could catch a bullet, right? As a police officer, you don't fucking
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So there's a lot of instances where I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, where you pull a trigger because somebody pulled a cell phone out. Maybe you don't know it's a cell phone, but if you hesitate and it's a gun, it's your ass.
it's your ass.
So
Yeah,
there's a lot of situations where I'm willing to say, no, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? I mean, a person pulling their cell phone out probably shouldn't have pulled their cell phone out when a police officer is telling you just put your fucking hands up or whatever else it is,
yeah,
you know. And so there are situations where I will defend, the use of force of that. When somebody has handcuffs on and they're on the ground, your knee on their neck is excessive and is unfucking necessary. And for 9 minutes, there's absolutely no reason that should have taken place.
right.
So, yeah, there's a big difference between, a shootout or a dark alley. I'm not sure what that is, but this is a suspect. He ran away from me. He's probably got a gun. There's a big difference between that and kneeling on somebody's neck while he's asking for you to stop because he tells you you can't breathe. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's no fucking gray area with this one.
yeah. Do you think the other cops should be arrested as well? The other three that were involved?
Fuck yes.
Yeah,
Oh no, dude, you can't. I mean, if any of us sat around and your boy fucking stomped somebody, you'd go down too.
yeah.
So yeah,
That's true.
absolutely, man. Whoever's standing there, or I heard, wasn't there somebody kneeling on his back or leaning on his back too?
Yeah, there's another video or a picture. I'm not exactly sure, but it showed two other officers on the other side of the vehicle, and they both were basically on top of the dude as well. And then there
Correct.
was the one guy that was kind of doing crowd control.
Correct. He was detained. He was subdued. He was cuffed. Put his ass in the car. Sit his ass up. Let him breathe. Absolutely, all of them go down. In my opinion.
Exactly.
I
And
got.
then Mr. Floyd became unresponsive, and they still kept the knee on the neck. Man, that's that trips me out. I can't believe it.
I know.
Like, you would think at that point, like the cop would at least show some kind of, humanity and try to help the guy. I don't know. It's just crazy to me, man.
Yeah, it's sad.
So on that note, do you feel that that's all this looting and violence and everything that's happening? Do you feel like it's above what the response should be for this?
So yeah, I mean, I think the response initially to take to the streets, I support that. I think that was the only call. I mean, when you hear these, there's a meme that I saw, circulate on Facebook that I think drove the point home and it was after a couple nights and they showed, people in the streets and I think maybe something was on fire. I don't know, but they're saying, you can't demonstrate that way. You can't protest that way. But then they show a picture of, Kobe Bryant with the shirt that says, "I can't breathe." They say, yeah, but no, not like that. They show Colin Kaepernick kneeling on the field. No, not like that. They show all these different people protesting peacefully and speaking out against police brutality and overt racism. And not a fucking damn thing changed. If anything, Kaepernick lost his job over it. I mean, they basically said, "Go fuck yourself," for trying to do what he did peacefully. I don't think they had a choice. I mean, every effort to do it peacefully leading up to somebody kneeling on his neck, which, let's be honest, you know, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not an isolated incident. That Ahmaud Arbery case where the guy's out jogging,
Yeah.
right? You know, there was that EMT that the police broke down her door. Her and her boyfriend were sleeping. They had the wrong house. They did a no-knock warrant. They didn't announce themselves. She was shot and killed, and they're charging the boyfriend with attempted murder.
Attempted murder, yeah. And it was the wrong house, and the guy that they were after was already in jail.
Already in jail.
That's crazy.
You know, so I mean, you add all that shit up, and you know, how do you not fucking take to the streets and lose your shit? And so, yes, I think taking to the streets was the right call. Do I think breaking windows and looting and stealing shit, vandalism and all that's the right call? No, but it's also not the majority of the movement. It's not the majority of the people. You know what I mean? There's a few, you know, kind of ignorant people taking advantage of a situation. And, you know, what's even worse is when you see a lot of these videos, it's young white teenagers with fucking skateboards that are breaking windows, that are flipping and burning cars, that are spray painting shit on walls. You know, I mean, it's for the most part not the black community that's doing the fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I saw some YouTube guy that they've showed on TMZ. I have no clue who he is, but apparently he has, you know, a bazillion followers, and he was out there filming basically for his YouTube channel in Scottsdale, you know, also, you know, launching fireworks and things at buildings and things of, you know, it's just crazy.
I mean, and you know, it's what's sad is I think there was so much, you know, and there still is, but there was so much like energy and support behind the movement. Like it was, I mean, you know, this happened in Minneapolis, and people are riding in cities all around the country. Like that tells you that this is big now, you know, and you know, there's a few select people that are actually starting to derail that whole, you know, movement by going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's frustrating to see that and to know that that's happening, that, you know, because some asshole wants to go rip off the Apple store, that you know, people are starting to kind of lump everybody who's out on the streets into the same category, you know, and then the use of force, though, it doesn't always seem justified. You know what I mean? If you watch some of these videos, they're standing in the roads with their hands up, and nobody's moving, nobody's doing anything, and all of a sudden, you know, gas canisters and rubber bullets go flying.
Do you feel like part of this is because everyone was cooped up for all that time with the stay-at-home order, that it's like energy that's just being released and it's manifesting this way?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it plays a role, but at the same time, I think, you know, I think a lot of people, they've just fucking had it. I mean, you know, when you murder somebody in the streets and it's on video, it, you know, everybody sees that. You know, it's one thing to hear the story. Like, we don't have video, or at least I haven't seen if there is, but like, you know, the woman that was shot in her own home,
I haven't seen any.
You hear the story, but you don't see the video, right? So I think I don't know if people are desensitized to it or not, but I mean, this was broadcast and put on TV in front of everybody to watch this man die.
Yeah, and the other incident had just happened, you know, before, what was it, a couple weeks before that, with the guy that you mentioned his name, they showed him getting shot. The two neighbors following him and trying to detain him, and then they ended up shooting him and killing him.
Correct.
I mean, it's just, I think two incidents right back to back, and it just was too much, man. People just exploded.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, and you're right. There's a lot of you know, distrust and unrest, and people, you know, cooped up, housed up for COVID, but then, you know, losing jobs, and I mean, I think people are starting to recognize that, you know, the scales are not even, and you know, they're trying to make that shit a little bit more on the right side of it, you know.
Yeah.
And
what tripped me out is there was an article that literally said the CIA is admitting there's some UFO activity out there, and it got like 0 play. In any other year, that would have been like huge news everywhere.
Right.
I think it got like one little blip.
Maybe they're trying to distract from something. You know, they're like, well, let's drop some UFO shit. You know?
Let's say that there's some aliens out there. Come on, and then nope.
I don't know.
And then I'm seeing all them other memes too, where they're like, the luckiest 2 people are those astronauts that just left Earth.
Yeah, good choice.
Good choice.
Exactly. No kidding, man.
It's
tough sitting
2020, dude. It's crazy time. We even had murder hornets. Did you ever see any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just, the media adding to hysteria and all that shit. But I don't know if they show up, man. You damn well know the fucking plague is coming too. So, it ain't gonna be long.
Yeah, I'm like, what in the heck's going on, man? 2020 has been the craziest year.
Seriously.
I can't believe it.
I know there's that new one now. It says like, congratulations, you made it to the end of May. You're now at level 6 of Jumanji.
Yeah. We're in the freaking Matrix right now or something, man. I'm waiting for Neo to go flying through the sky.
Well, give me the fucking blue pill, right? Was it the blue pill or the red pill? What's the one that he eats to wake up?
I can't remember which one, man, but I'm like, yeah, put me to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Give me the good life with eating the steak and lobster. I'm good with that.
Unplug this shit. This is an option, man. Unplug my ass. Fucking control alt delete, motherfucker. Yeah.
I don't have many other questions for you, man. You kind of you rolled over everything really good. You know what I mean?
That's all good, man. Let me know if you get some more. We got some more time, coming up. I'm happy to be back on with you.
What other final thoughts do you have that maybe you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's good to be informed about COVID. I think it's understandable that there's some uncertainty about it, and it kind of seems. I think a lot of people, they tend to kind of take it lightly because they don't know anybody that has it, at least here, right? It's most of the people you talk to. Like, do you know anybody that's had COVID?
I don't.
The majority of people don't, and it's not until it's real that you actually start to take it serious. And so I think, being in healthcare and seeing it makes it a little bit more real. So when, if I'm somebody that's out and, doing whatever else, if I was a realtor and never saw anybody, how would I know all this shit? How would I know how sick people get?
That's why I wanted to talk to you too, man. You know what I mean? Just to educate my dumb ass.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's a little enlightenment there. I mean, plus
there's a lot of enlightenment. I was like,
there's a marketing opportunity for you too. So I hope that pans out. But no, man, I think it's good to know a little bit more. I hope people take it serious. It's not a joke. I mean, you put a mask on your face so that nobody else gets sick. If you give it to somebody and they take it home to their grandma and that grandma dies, that's fucking tragic, and it could have been spared from a piece of fucking cloth. Like, it's super fucking selfish to make that your statement. You know what I mean? Of like, I'm free. So, wash your hands, cover your cough, don't go out if you're having symptoms, that sort of thing. I think that's very easy.
Yeah.
And then health officials will start figuring out if there's anything else we can do for it.
What's the mortality rate on that you're noticing?
I don't know if there's any accurate numbers for it. Most of what I've seen, most studies would kind of put it down in the 1% to 3%.
Okay.
But that's still, it's still somebody's mom, somebody's dad, somebody's brother, sister, mother, daughter.
If you're in that percentage and it's affecting you or your family, you definitely are feeling that impact.
Yeah. I think the hardest part about it, and I won't go too long into it because it's just not too, I don't want to harp on it, but it's sad because right now people can't come into the hospital as guests, as visitors. So
that's another thing I wanted to ask you. I'm glad you talked about it. Yeah.
Their loved one gets sick, right? Your family member gets sick. They come into the hospital. You can't visit them. And if they get bad and they get a vent, they get a tube down their throat, and they got a machine breathing for them, you can't talk to them. You can't see them. And there's cases, we've had cases where, they're using an iPad and they're holding up an iPad, letting a family member look at their loved one who's on a machine who's probably not going to make it.
Wow,
I mean, that's a tragic way to lose somebody, to not even be able to be there. So,
that would be hard.
Wow. For real. So, I mean, it's more than just, as a society, it's more than just, cover your sneeze, cover your cough, wash your hands, wear a mask, just so you don't get it to somebody. I mean, you're sparing people loss on a scale that, is just unfathomable, and young and old alike. So, as far as that goes, that's kind of something I think is important to keep in mind, and, if it sways even a few people.
Yeah, good. Definitely. What kind of things are you and Adriana over there doing to protect your guys' family?
So, dude, I mean, so I change before I get in my car and come home, when I leave work. Yeah,
Yeah.
I take scrubs off, shoes off. As soon as I get home, I jam straight to the shower and I take a shower before I see my kids, hug my kids, kiss my wife. You know, I'm in the shower and getting clean. So
Yeah.
you know, we take it serious when I leave work. You know, I wash my hands all the way up to my arms, all the way up to my elbows, like whatever skin area is exposed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at work we wear masks with everybody.
Yeah.
So we take it serious. You know, for the most part, I was the only one that would, you know, go out and get supplies, whatever, and make
Right.
or leave the kids, leave, you know, everybody else would stay home.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so that was kind of it, you know, as far as trying to maintain, you know, some degree of, you know, sterility and, you know, maintain keeping everything else that, you know, was at work, keeping it in a bag and keeping it there and not bringing it home.
Yeah. And she's still working at the hospital too, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd
So
be,
she's different hospital, but yeah, she's doing respiratory stuff, man. So, I mean, you
yeah.
know,
So she sees a lot. She sees it too, then, huh?
she's it too, for sure.
Wow. That's crazy, man. You guys must have some stories when you're at home. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Some days good, some days not so good, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I still remember years ago when she got upset that I had a fire on in the backyard because of some of the stuff she had been seeing in, you know, in her job, and I was like, I mean, I
I don't
didn't
remember that.
understand, you know.
I don't remember that. She was mad at you for a fire?
Yeah, I guess she had come home from work that day or something. I don't know. And you guys came over to the house, and I had a fire in the backyard, and she was like, "You need to put that out." And I didn't put it out right away, and so yeah, she was like, "If you were to see the people at my job," and I mean, I didn't understand, you know, I don't deal with all that, so I
Oh,
was
it's
like, "I'm sorry."
because you left it, like you just left it rolling.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So tell her
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I'll let her know. I'll let her know. But yeah, man. Other than that, you know, hanging out with the kids, you know, swimming, bike rides until it got to be 110. That kind of,
Too hot, too soon.
you know,
Right.
it's all been good.
All right, man. We can go ahead and wrap it up, but you're down to do some more of these if we got
Hey,
some time.
absolutely, man. It's good talking to you. You know, anytime you want to, you know, get a little visit, I'm happy to chat with you, brother.
Heck yeah, man. We'll schedule another one soon. Then I'm trying to, you know, I talked crap about the other YouTuber earlier, but I'm trying to do a YouTube channel too. So
Okay. Nah, that's fine. I don't think you talk crap, you know, but yeah,
yeah,
just, you know, let me know if more topics come up. I'm sure they will. Our world keeps fucking turning upside down. Every time you think it can't get worse, it does. So,
yeah. I'm sure we'll have some other stuff, but yeah, man. All right. I will see you on the flip side, Brian.
all right, brother. Have a good one.
All right, cool. Later.